first question is: are you guys all from Western Canada, or whereabout?
I myself am from Ontario, so I'm in the eastern part of the province, or the country.
And I'm from Saskatchewan in the western part, or central.
Yeah, and I'm actually right on the border, Alberta, Saskatchewan, living in Saskatchewan.
Oh, all right, cool. So I know that's been the time zones have been a challenge for some of the Canadians. So, what originally what got you guys into sim racing in general? And is there a racing background behind it?
Well, myself, I was real life racing, legend cars, and our year end banquet in 2012, one of the guys brought a laptop and a steering wheel, and he said, "You guys try this out. I want to get you into this." So I tried it out, and I was hooked. And I was selling my car that year because I was gonna buy a camper and boat and take the grandkids fishing and stuff before they leave the nest, kind of thing. And I've been at it ever since 2012.
That's awesome. Fair bit less expensive.
Oh, a huge difference. I'd spend $5,000 just to be ready for the first race day, and yeah, and every day after that is between fees and tires and engine getting refreshed. Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
No doubt. How about you, Jeremy or CR?
Go ahead, Sierra.
Well, I started off being a huge fan. No background in racing, although I was part owner in a team, just locally, stock cars. And we've got a little track outside of Regina that was my favorite haunt for many years. And then I got into sim racing back when there was an outfit called 10. I'm not even sure which NASCAR version that they actually raced, but I was involved with a team by the name of 3DFX. We were one of the first sponsored teams in sim racing, actually. And that sponsorship carried on for about 5 or 6 years. And then, of course, 10, Hawaii, all those guys all evaporated. And then iRacing came along. And I figured, fantastic. And it's been wonderful ever since. Still a big fan, though, of the real stuff.
Oh yeah, cool. So have you been? When did you join iRacing?
You know, I'd have to check. I think I've got 4 stars. What's that make me?
I guess 2013, 12, something like
I'll tell you in a second.
that.
Jeremy's quick with the computer end of things.
You joined on April the 8th of 2013. You have 3 stars.
Well, there we go.
All right. What about you, Jeremy? What's your background?
I have an uncle that was big into dirt track racing, and my grandfather on my mom's side. Otherwise, I wasn't involved in it. Big NASCAR fan, and watched a lot of races that way. Parents go to a lot of races, but I've never been, and always wanted to try it. Found it online and went from there. Bought a steering wheel, and it's gone from there.
Very cool. Now you said your parents went to a bunch of NASCAR races.
Yes, they traveled to Daytona for about 5 years in a row, and Michigan for again another 4 years as well.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So the Michigan is a little more doable from a distance perspective, I imagine. But how are they? If you said you're in Ontario, they're probably pretty close.
My parents live about 2 hours south of me, so closer to London. So they were only 4 or 5 hours from Michigan Raceway.
Cool, awesome. So, how Ernie? I know that obviously, like I knew you from the World Cup and sort of injected the idea of getting into the Pacific Majors, sort of through that. And how did you go about getting so many people involved or to know about the series? And because it just the signups were just instantaneous from that club, and it was really great to see.
Well, actually, I started Club Canada, a league that we have going. We have 252 members right now. So I use that league for communication to all the guys. And so once I let them know that the Pac Majors is looking at inviting us, there's a lot of us that just jumped on board.
And is that how you two got involved? Was through Ernie letting you know about it?
Sure was.
I had heard about it before. Doyle Lawrence. I raced a lot with him, and he raced in this series. So, of course, he was helping promote a lot of it with his broadcast at the time that he was racing in it. So then when Ernie presented it as Team Canada, I was all ready to jump on board.
Sweet. Yeah, Doyle's a great guy, so that's pretty cool. All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about the series in a minute, kind of your guys' preferences, what you like, what you don't like. But Ernie, going back to the whole Club Canada element, I would say, the year before you took over as captain, and for all the years prior to that, the club was dead. It had a lot of members, but there was absolutely nothing cohesive about it. I could never understand it. I worked forever to try to galvanize anything, and then you came along, and it seemed like it took off. So how did you do it, and what's your secret, and are you enjoying it?
I'm very much enjoying it. I don't know. I just started doing more things with the Canadians. We have this thing called the Canadian Time Trial Challenge, and that got me to know a lot of the guys that are regulars in participating, and with their help, it really just got bigger from there. I started the league, the Club Canada League, and I have 4 members from that league that actually host races Monday, Wednesday, Thursday nights regularly every week. So that's helped out a lot. We get together, and there's between 12 and 15 of us that show up every night, basically. And it's just a group thing. The guys really like racing with each other, and a lot of us actually are Pac 6 members as well. Me and CR, we've raced together quite a bit for BES, and we started getting members towards putting teams into that as well, and that's been working out quite well as well.
Oh, very nice. So, CR, are you a Blackadder guy too, or is that just Ernie?
That's just Ernie, actually.
All right, cool. So I know a lot of your teammates, Ernie, through obviously all over the world, which is it's kind of a neat team. But tell me more about this Club Canada time trial thing. Is it anything like the time attack, or is it your own deal?
It's just our own deal. We just pick a series that we want to run time trials in, and everybody goes out and just tries to do their best, and we just whoever wants to be involved, we just post the results at the end of the week, and it shows who's in the lead and how many points, and it's just a fun deal. And it's basically we're working against each other, like working against ourselves, trying to better ourselves individually. And it's nice to know where we rate with our fellow Canadians as well. And we get to know how good they are and whatnot. And we end up working together quite well, trying to learn different tricks and whatnot. And it's been a really good development thing for all of us.
And with that group too, there's a lot of helping hands. And it's amazing how much all of us have improved over the years.
Awesome. Now, so you guys pick an official iRacing series and you follow that, or is that what I heard right?
Yeah, we like this week, or well, this season, I guess you'd call it, because there's the 12 weeks in the season. Um, there's the what the heck is it? The C7R to go with the World Cup.
Ah,
That's what we're using this time around. Last season it was the Skippy, I believe.
good strategy. I love that. So speaking of the World Cup, then what are we like two? We're like just a little over 2 months away from the qualifying starting. Um, what do you? Well, let's back up a couple years. So 2 years ago, you guys were in the finals, and then last year you were really competitive. So what's your goal for the year as the club, or what's your ultimate goal for the club?
Well, we're just still trying to get a good base of people that want to be involved in the World Cup. Our expectations aren't really overly high. We just want to have a really good time and make a presence known down there.
Nice. Well, so and then we've got the endurance race this weekend, right? So you guys have, I forget, is you have two or three teams.
We have 3 teams in this one.
That's impressive. That is really cool. So you guys could make some noise for sure.
Well, I think with our one car, we'll be pretty close to a podium, I believe.
Awesome, awesome. So I know the Northwest guys are really looking forward to that too. And someday, who knows? We'll get everybody doing it, but it's neat to see you guys doing it. So as far as the format for this year, I know as a captain you kind of get advanced notice on most of this stuff, but how do you feel about the small adjustments that were made, and what are you looking forward to most?
I think it's working out a lot better because everything's spread out a little bit more. Um, it's almost like I haven't had enough time to really get things organized properly, like with the that Talladega race, was it, or Daytona?
Right, the Intimidator. Yep.
Yeah, the Intimidator. We didn't really expect to have the race go the way it went. We thought we'd be racing against a whole bunch of different clubs, but having just the 2 clubs, it was more of a, I don't know, almost a demo derby in a way. And we don't really race like that. We like to draft off each other and work together, kind of thing. And we just had a real rough go at it. But now that we've been through it, we kind of learned a few things, and I think we could do a lot better the next time around.
Right, gotcha. So I noticed that too. That in a number of the rounds, that I was expecting the races to go nearly caution free. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I figured that teammates would never wreck teammates, right, unless purely by accident. And so that leaves half the field that is never is just not going to wreck you. They're going to be extra careful around you. And I know that I think the first year we did the Intimidator, we didn't do it the same way, but the finals were just 2 teams, and it was Carolina versus the UK, and they went caution free for 100 laps. So that was one of the things that sort of inspired the change. And then this year, of course, with the actual World Cup tournament being head-to-head matches all the way through, from 16 teams on down to the finals, we kind of wanted to do a dry run of it, right, to see how it would work from a logistics perspective, and B, what was the quality of the racing. So logistically, I thought it worked great. Quality of racing, I thought, could have been significantly better.
Well, the time that it was set up for us was really terrible, and I was shocked that we even had as many guys as we had in that race, because I literally had to get off work early just to make it on time, and yeah, it wasn't very good for like the western half of Canada, that's for sure. So we had a real rough go that way, and then to get crashed out so quick in the race, it wasn't any fun that way. It kind of made things a little tough, but I don't know. Uh, we'll live through it, and we're looking forward to the next time.
We
Absolutely.
always learn something.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. Enough about that. So, Jeremy, you've been sort of quiet. I know you're the painter of the group. So, how do you come up with your schemes? They honestly look fantastic.
Just working with the guys. I found just doing searches on the internet of some Team Canada stuff and went from there and started presenting them. And the guys were kind of liking them. So I just kept going from there. And yeah, now I kind of got all my paints kind of incorporate the beaver on the back as best I can with the two Canada flags. That's kind of become the trademark. Any paint that I have seems to have that. So I don't know. That's what I do. The guys are liking it, and usually the beaver on the back makes a little bit of a discussion point on the racetrack.
I've had lots of comments about that, actually. Yeah, I use the same paint for regular iRacing. And many, many times, Jeremy, I've had people comment on that beaver at the back. People want to stay behind me, and that's a good thing.
I love it.
I don't use anything special. It's just I use GIMP to the paints, and I just practice and play and see what's available and go from there.
All right, nice. Well, they are very clean, and they always stand out on track, and you can always kind of tell which are the Northern Lights entries. So that's nice.
Thank you.
You bet. So, Ernie, how did you guys? Obviously, Northern Lights is not anything easy to figure out, I suppose. But how did you determine who was going to be on which team, and how you were going to? What was your strategy?
Well, I just checked with the guys, left a note that I'd like to see who was interested in joining in with me as a team, and I figured if I had a couple guys that were good oval track racers, a couple guys that were good at road, and one guy that's good at both, we should do pretty well. And I ended up doing actually pretty good at judging. Like Jeremy's really good on ovals. Alex, he was supposed to join in with us, but he hasn't been able to make it at all. A lot of real life stuff going on in his world, so he wasn't able to join in with us. But me and CR have been kind of taking up the slack. Robert Laurent, our fifth member, he's good on ovals as well. So I thought we had a pretty good, mix of everybody kind of thing. The other team got formed because there are so many other guys that wanted to be involved as well. So I just started up another team. And I could have probably had a third team as well, but white, red, do we do blue or what?
There you go. Okay, cool. And obviously this is your guys' the first season in the series. Did you have any goals? And this will be a question for all three of you. Did you have any goals personally in terms of what you wanted to accomplish, or was it a wait and see thing? And then what goals for the team, if any?
Well, myself, my biggest goal is learn what's all going on and get better as a driver. And I don't know if you talk to John very much, but he's noticed that I've really stepped it up a lot since I've been with this. And John really praises you and what you are doing. He wishes he could have the chance to do, these races as well. But being in Asia, it's pretty tough for him.
So you're talking about John King, obviously, part of the Blackadder group.
Yeah, you betcha. It was because of him that I ended up in the Blackadder. I ended up joining a race with them guys. What was it? 3 years ago for Daytona 500. There was just a bunch of guys that got together, and 3 members were actually Blackadder members, and then there was a couple, 3 Canadians that joined in as well. And we had a great time, and I got the invite from John to join them and never turned back.
That's awesome. And yeah, that I'll tell you, that is like the most, at least from the outside looking in, you would be able to tell me better, but from the outside looking in, that seems to be the most drama-free team that I've ever seen in sim racing, and you're just a bunch of good guys that like to
Yeah,
race.
we all get along really well. They're just a great bunch of guys, and I support the team all I can, but I want to help out my Canadian teams too. So everything I do on iRacing is basically has the Blackadder paint scheme. The only time I never use it is when I'm doing the World Cup stuff and Pac 6 stuff, and that's about it. Everything else is all Blackadder.
And you,
Ernie certainly sets the bar for us, and my goal is always to try to keep up with these other teamies of mine.
Actually, the BES, that's another one that I kind of ventured away from Blackadder, but our painter in Blackadder actually supplied us the paint job, and it's got Blackadder on our team car for the BES stuff.
cool. And that's what you and CR are doing together, is that right?
Yeah, there's myself, CR, and Ross Goodacre that normally run the BES stuff, but this year we kind of given that up because of all the other stuff going on with World Cup and World Endurance.
And following in Ernie's footsteps, there was actually two offshoot teams that started up as a result of that team. And I'm happy to say that one of them is still going strong. The other one's folded for the summer, but some of their members have joined the other team. So we've still got four people that continually run BES, and has an open invite out basically for other Canadians that wanted to give it a whirl.
Nice. All right. And Jeremy, what sort of goals have you set for yourself or your team?
Basically, I mean, I'm looking to see what the quality of the racing is and seeing where I fit in, seeing what the style of racing is as well, and just to improve myself to give the base point for future years. That's basically all I've got. Love to lead Team Canada if I could in the points and stuff, but that's not the overall goal. Is just to make sure we get a good base of guys that work together and as a team and show Canada proud in a global stage to everyone.
Yeah, I think you guys have for sure. You've been a great addition to the series, and I will say that just from my point of view, watching each of you race, I've raced probably more with you than the others. I'm stronger on oval as well. And anyway, it seems like you are faster. It seems like you race faster than maybe you qualify. I don't know if that's fair to say, but you always seem to be pretty strong in your split.
Yeah, I'm not a qualifying person. Can't get the car and not that type of person. I'd rather run a car on the long haul and watch other people chew their tires up or whatnot and be able to just set the car up for the long drive than the short ones where it's all about speed, really.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, last question, and then you guys can offer anything about it that you want. But last question about the series itself. So, what has been your favorite thing? What's the thing you're looking forward to the most? What would you change? I guess it's three questions in one.
My, excuse me. One of my favorite things is the Predator races when the math works out. This last one, Mike, I was in the sportsman split, and the math just didn't work out that well. But the Predator race before that was just unbelievable. It was racing right down to that last lap with all the classes. I don't know how you put them together, but you do a fine job.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, geez, I was kind of leading there for the longest time there, CR, and then he ended up beating me. What the heck's with that?
Didn't you run out of gas?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Ernie's got such a heavy foot. We always kibitz each other about that. He wears tires and burns gas faster than anybody I know.
Well, virtual gas and virtual rubber is a lot cheaper, so he figures why not.
Yeah, I'm not limited at all. So as for changes to the series, the one thing I gotta say is the sportsman. It would be nice if everybody that was signed up for sportsman actually stayed in sportsman, and the pros stayed in the pros. Um, I find it not really true for sportsmen to win if half the sportsman field is in the pros and getting all the extra bonus points.
Yeah, I'll tell you that has been something that we have struggled with from a concept perspective, um, because you. So I'll give you a glimpse of one of the things that we're talking about for next year, which is a licensing system where number one, where we might have two licenses in general, and really this is all just hypothetical at this point, but one license would be just for the series, meaning you've got to meet certain requirements just to have a series license and be able to race at all, and part of that is a minimum ability, nothing spectacular, but you've got to be able to turn times within a certain percentage, and your safety, right? That's the biggest thing is are you somebody who demonstrates that you can get around the track safely? Because I would say that we've not necessarily done a good job on evaluating that historically. But the second piece is kind of what you're talking about, Ernie, is having a pro license where if you have this license, you're able to race in the pro split. If you don't have that license, you're not able to race in the pro split. Now, there may be certain people who are eligible or are eligible to race pro. They've got their pro license, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they get to race in the pro split. But it would guarantee that anybody who doesn't have a pro license is not eligible to race in the pro split, and they would be in the sportsman split each time. And perhaps if you don't have a pro license, then you would be if you if you have a pro license, then obviously you would not ever be competing for the sportsman championship. So anyway, it's a long response to your concern, but I totally agree with you that balancing that is been something that's been difficult because we want full fields, we want full grids, and we wouldn't want to have a situation where there's only 18 guys in the pro split, where and 40 in the sportsman. That doesn't make any sense to me. But so we're trying to find a happy medium, I guess, to answer your question.
Yeah, and then there's guys that like earlier we talked about qualifying, where some guys can't even qualify, and others, they can't race, or the other way around. You know, like I don't. Well, I've been qualifying quite good, but like Jeremy there, he has a hard time qualifying. But when he jumps into a race, he just sets the world on fire, kind of thing. Um, yeah, it would be nice to have something where a guy could run a race to qualify, kind of like what we did for Daytona, I guess.
Right, exactly, and you know. So yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head in terms of the challenges of trying to make sure that you have, one of the neat things about iRacing, I think everybody kind of agrees, is the iRating system, at least in its intent, is that you're going to put the similarly skilled people with similarly skilled people. Well, that only works when you split, number one, so the races have got to split, which is only going to happen in certain series, and number two, it's only going to work when the iRating is relative to that person within the car that they're racing, and so it kind of throws a wrench into it. And so we felt like, with this series, if we could have 2, 3, even 4 splits, whatever, that if we could devise a way, this could be even better, right, where you're racing against similar skill every week, and really making it more fun, right? Because I think everybody feels like you want to be in a race where you're going to be competitive. You're not going to necessarily win, but you're going to be competitive, and we're going to continue to work to tweak it so that the rules and the qualifying procedure promote that as much as possible. There's no sense in having a guy that's out of his league. Myself is a good example. In certain races, squeak into the pro split, or having a guy who's clearly pro caliber and in the top of the points and is good week in and week out everywhere, fall to the sportsman split, because that's not going to be any fun for those other sportsman guys. So it's a balance.
Yeah, I was kind of happy to make the pro, but then I look back and I think, well, I'm kind of out of my element here, and then it's not really fair to all the guys in sportsmen when I end up, getting as many points for finishing 23rd as what the guy that won the race got, type of thing.
Yeah, yep, totally get that concern, and something that we are going to always work to resolve. So I appreciate that feedback.
You guys are doing an awesome job, and I can see this getting bigger and better every year.
I hope so. That's the goal. We got some neat plans for next year. Can't wait to reveal them. All right, Jeremy. What about you? What about the series do you enjoy, or what would you change? What are you looking forward to?
I very much enjoy this series and what it set up. It pretty much promotes an all-around racer. I'm not that great at road racing. I'm trying to improve that part of my game, I guess. Better at oval and that. So that's the part that I really enjoy. What I would probably work on the best would be the rule set and making sure that the rule set is applied equally across the whole thing, with the understanding of a decision that's made today has an effect on future events, and with that understanding and just making sure that it's a level set all the way across. I know that can be difficult at times, and coming from a refereeing background myself, I know how that perception can be and everything else, and precedent and everything else. So that'd be the one thing to make sure you key in for the future, to make sure of. As for the rest of it, I mean, I look forward to racing with these guys and meeting the guys across Canada and promoting pack majors and see where it goes from there.
All right, very cool. Okay, so with regard to, I know, Jeremy, you mentioned you're a NASCAR fan and your parents are obviously NASCAR fans. That's really cool. It sounds like most of you guys have sort of more of an oval background than anything. Ernie, you said you were racing legends. What do you follow from a real world perspective?
I've started following IMSA, which is quickly surpassing NASCAR as watchability on TV.
Ernie, you were going to say?
Yeah, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I got my Sirius radio on NASCAR Sirius all the time. Yeah, I'm a big NASCAR nut, but I do like dirt racing as well. I'll go. 4 years ago, I went down to North Carolina and watched the dirt finals, national finals, and that was a great experience. I really liked the dirt cars, the sprint cars, and wearing that red play was something else. I never seen Earth like that before ever anywhere, and that was quite a thing. And I don't know. I kind of follow along with the dirt guys quite a bit. Yeah, I just like racing in general, all over.
So do you subscribe to any of the online services to be able to follow the dirt? Because it seems like it's pretty tough to follow otherwise.
Yeah, no, I get newsletters from different sources all the time. They're doing different things. I can't think of exactly who they are now. Kind of messed up in my brain here.
Oh, there's so much out there, and I think it's cool that it's becoming more and more on demand. Whereas you get to pick and choose what you are interested in and what you want to watch. So I hope it keeps moving in that direction. But yeah, it can be difficult to find for sure. Have you've been a NASCAR guy obviously for a long time? You still have the same level of interest in it that you've always had, or more, or because they change it so damn much.
Well, right now I don't even have a TV to actually watch it, but what I do is I turn on my Sirius NASCAR and I listen to the race and I follow along. I'm listening on the way to work every day and on the way back home from work. And I would listen to Sirius Radio a lot with NASCAR channel. So big fan of Dave Moody and all them.
All right, there you go. That's cool. And do you have a driver that you follow in particular, or is it more the sport in general? And what have you thought about the segments racing?
It's really added a lot. One particular driver I don't really have. I have multiple drivers I go for. I used to be a real Tony Stewart fan. Before that was um, like Bobby Allison. He is one of my favorites. Cal Yarbrough, that era guys. I really enjoyed them. And then Davey Allison, of course, he got killed. And then I had to search around for somebody else to replace him. But yeah, it was Tony Stewart, and now recently Blaney and all them guys are doing so well. And I kind of watched them quite a bit more too. I got quite a few drivers I pull for. My fantasy picks haven't been going too well. It was terrible this last week, but overall I'm doing pretty good in that series too.
I would say fantasy NASCAR at a plate race is we might as well bet on craps.
Oh yeah, it's just something else. Like I started a Blackadder fantasy league too, so we have 20 some members in that as well. So it's pretty fun.
Oh, very cool, awesome. And Jeremy, I know you're a NASCAR fan. Anything else, or is that your main passion?
Actually, I've been watching a lot more F1, where I pretty much try to watch anything. If there's racing on TV, I'm trying to watch it or tape it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm similar. I used to be strictly NASCAR. Grew up with that, and I've gotten to the point where I don't even watch it. I watched the Daytona race, but sadly I don't watch it as much as I would like to. But yeah, I watch a lot of WEC and in the IMSA, the WeatherTech series is awesome as well. All right, guys. Well, I've kept you for a long time, but any questions that you had for me, or any additional comments that maybe I didn't get to?
What is the plan in the future of Pacific Majors? Are you planning on growing it further?
Absolutely. How fast that happens is up in the air. We definitely have some things that we're looking for next year that we'll be announcing soon. But I honestly, I could talk about it all day. But my real goal for the series is for it to sort of be looked at as one of if not the elite. Or most prestigious is maybe a better word to put it, series in iRacing. So that's the goal.
I think you're getting quite a reputation for what you have going, and I can't thank you enough for inviting us to be part of this.
Oh, no, not a problem. You guys make it go round. I love it. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I really appreciate you guys taking a few minutes to sit down, and I'm really excited to let people know more about Club Canada and about the Northern Lights teams and you guys. So good luck this weekend, Ernie, with the enduro, and we'll see you on the other side.
You betcha. Thank you so much, Mike.
You got it. You guys have a good night. All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.